If 20 years ago I gave you a selection of SUVs for you to select, your choices would probably border around Toyotas, Mitsubishis, and even Nissans. Fast forward into the early 2010s, and a new niche of SUVs have carved themselves into the tapestry of the auto world. These are the mid-size SUVs. Introducing today's car on review, the Suzuki Grand Vitara, or what most people will refer to as the S-Kudo. The only car with a grand to its name. Hello good people, welcome to Keep Left, your all car guide to all things cars and all things automotive. As always, my name is Kev, the host who knows most about cars. And today we have the 2005 Suzuki Escudo, or as most people refer to it as the Grand Vitara, or basically just the Vitara. This car will give us an insight into 15 years of ownership of this particular model, and this is quite a unique opportunity for you viewers, because most times you get to see cars that are new and probably cars that are within warranties of probably 10 years or 100,000 kilometers, and they don't give us the full story. But this car will give us a story of 15 years of ownership in different time zones, from its import from Japan to now its ownership in Kenya. We are going to go into depth into what problems the car has had in the years of ownership, and what are some of the good sides of this car's ownership. So stick into the video and I'll get to tell you more about the car. In fact, stick until the end of this video, where I'm going to give you a surprising fact about this particular car manufacturer. The exterior of the Suzuki Vitara maintains a very boxy styling to its design, so much that if you were to take this car back to the past, to the 80s where it was first started, it would fit in perfectly. This is not to mean that the Suzuki engineers have been sleeping on the job. Quite to the contrary, this ensures that the car maintains a very timeless look to its design. The third generation of the Suzuki Vitara got its inception in 2005 up to 2017, with other countries maintaining the same design up to 2019. This has been one of the longest serving generations of the Suzuki Vitara. Suzuki continues to deliver in its business when it comes to the interior of the Vitara, which employs a very dark finish to its design. This is reminiscent with the clientele that the Vitara will be predominantly disposed towards, and these are small families, and as such the cloth interior in this particular model goes against the grain, in that it stains easily and is very difficult to maintain, as opposed to the leather interior that comes in the Grand Vitara derivative of the same model. The dashboard features a leathery finish to its design, which is complemented by a plastic finish in the center console. This car comes standard with heated seats for the driver and the co-driver's side. At the back, the Suzuki Vitara features more than enough space in the boot. This is aided by the fact that the spare wheel is mounted on the back door. This is not necessarily a good thing, because with time, the weight of the spare wheel has been known to put a lot of pressure on the door hinges, and as such they become creaky, and equally as you move along the road, the door almost moves up and down and causes a lot of noise. On a different note, the fact that the spare wheel is mounted on the back door means that there is a lot of compartments and spaces that can be utilized under the car. Equally, this is a good thing because this car is designed to be practical and utilitarian. The Suzuki Vitara came out with a whole spectrum of engine choices to deal with the different driving styles. For instance, the car on review today came out with a 2-liter inline-4 engine that was longitudinally placed. There were options of a 1.6-liter engine, a 2.7-liter V6 engine, and a further 1.9 diesel turbocharged engine. In 2008, after a facelift of the Suzuki Vitara, 2 more engines were introduced, a 2.4-liter engine, which was also an inline-4, and a further 3.2-liter V6 engine. All these engine choices were mated to 3 different transmissions: a 5-speed manual gearbox, a 4-speed auto like in the car today, and a further 5-speed auto, which was only designated for the V6 models. So what are you supposed to expect from the Suzuki Escudo? The Escudo, as it is proudly named, is a car that was specifically designated to cater for the mid-sized SUV community, and as such, this car offers more than enough space in terms of the interior of the car. Aside from that, it is a relatively inexpensive option in terms of the medium-sized class SUV cars. In fact, the prices of this model, considering the inception of this car was 2005 up to 2017 for the latest years, and in other markets like in Indonesia, this car was continued to be produced up to 2019. But the price range in Kenya will vary from anything around 800,000 to 2.5 million for the very later models of this car. In fact, the reason why we do a review of this car is that this car has changed very little in its shape and design. If anything, this car only faced two major facelifts. That was in 2008 to 2011, and from 2012 to 2017, depending on the markets that you find the car. And as such, the car has always maintained the boxier shape which people have loved about the car. And this is actually good because this car, it's different. In fact, if you look at the other cars in the same time period, the same class of medium-sized SUVs, most of the cars will have a more rounded shape into their design. But this one has a more boxier shape, which it takes a particular type of people to actually love and to come and to accept, but it's something that you can come to love. Personally, I like the design of this because it stands out in the crowd. To own this car, if from a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 7.5. The reason for that is this car is quite ably a good-sized family car. This will carry your small family very ably, and you don't have to compromise in certain things like power because this car is powerful enough. In fact, this model, as I stated earlier on, this is the 2-liter variant, 2-liter engine, straight inline 4, which is quite powerful, and equally it is quite economic considering the size of this car. Most cars in this size will probably have anything to do with 2.2 liters up to 2.5, and even some we have 3 liters. But this, the much more familiar one in Kenya and mostly in Africa, is the 2-liter variant, which is good and quite durable. In terms of ownership, if I was to look at the car and consider this car has been around for more than 15 years, some of the things that I see that have gone, some of the things that have probably gone off, probably like the vent for the AC, the surrounding bezels have probably cracked on, and that is to expect because those are plastic parts. The steering wheel has seen better days, but equally that is to expect considering this car is probably 17 years old. In fact, other models you would have seen much more wear in terms of the usage. Aside from that, the interior still maintains a very nice place to be. It is quite simple. In fact, some of the things that pop out to you is this car is 4-wheel drive, and the 4-wheel drive is very easy to use. It has a high range and a low range, as simple as that. And that will just basically denote that this car is actually meant for everyday use. This car on a daily basis it doesn't drive on all 4 wheels. It will be 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive rear biased, and that is easy until you prompt it to a 4-wheel drive mode, which is actually good. So what are some of the drawbacks that this particular model has over several years of ownership? Some of the things that you can come across is failing oxygen sensors, which in turn lead to a high consumption of fuel. Other things would be, if not well maintained, the engine can be a big Pandora's box, so it needs regular servicing. This is in order to take care of the timing components, which will ultimately fail in the event that this car doesn't receive regular servicing and oil changes. Aside from that, this car has operated faultlessly as per the owner. The drivetrain has served him for a good part of 7 years, and probably over the time the car has been owned, even many more years, which is something commendable if you consider that this is not the car that most people will pick off the bat. People will go for other models, but surprisingly, the Suzuki Escudo has, since its inception of this third generation of the Suzuki Escudo, it has been something that has been able to turn people's heads. This is not a car that people expected would be performing or look the part, but it has performed faultlessly. This is a car that people look at and they can actually feel like this is a car that was built for a specific purpose. And that's what you want when you're looking for these mid-size SUVs. So if you ask me, this is a car that, for starters, has really surprised me. I didn't expect this. The ride height is very good. The performance of the gearbox is perfect. The seating position is top-notch. This is a car that you actually feel at home, and I like it a lot. This is a car that is actually giving the front runners in terms of medium-sized SUVs a run for their money. This is a car that I would advise anyone to buy, new or second-hand, because it has actually served and looked the part. So in terms of ownership, the Suzuki Escudo has proven itself to be a car that you can actually own as an individual and as a family, and it's quite a dependable car, something that most people would never have thought about. And as I promised, I'm going to tell you now the biggest secret in terms of these medium-sized SUVs. Cars are more so like movies. In fact, a good director will bring along good actors in order to do a very good movie. Cars are not anything different. If anything, up until recently, Toyota and Suzuki have done a partnership to ensure that they come up with one of the best medium-sized SUVs, with Toyota bringing along their good electronics and hybrid systems, and without any surprises, Suzuki bringing along their wealth of knowledge in terms of building a compact SUV, which is something that they've done across so many years and to a great extent with great success. Thank you so much for watching this review. As always, if you've liked this episode, give it a thumbs up, and until next time, it is peace.